living with tracheotomy in Greece.
Kiki Tsakiri, my brother's wife, my sister-in-law, an economist with university studies in Frankfurt, specialized on social fund-related issues. Born to herself and Vangelis, 3 children, Stavros, Sebastiana and Anastasia. The woman who launched social fund benefits, so crucial for the younger generation, so vital for the entire southern Aegean. Kiki is the educated woman who taught all other administrators what the European Social Fund is about, who is entitled, how aid at home can be available, third age daycare centers, creative employment centers, third age open care centers, to name but a few of the benefits Kiki helped to be launched and become available to the beneficiaries. Kiki was the instigator behind the introduction in our area of these social benefits.
For the last several years, a serious health problem I have, a motor neuron disease, has tied me down in a wheelchair, even deprived me of the capacity to speak.
Kiki repeatedly tried to get the right specialists, the doctors who could diagnose what the case was with her. She traveled the world, both within and beyond Europe, until the truth was blatant. After all, no one knows Kiki's condition better than herself. After so much researching and querying, there was no doubt that what she suffers from is amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, most commonly known as MND. Rare in itself, this condition has to this day relied on relatively limited medical literature. As part of her effort to find relief to her health problems, we traveled to Beijing, China in 2005, where she spent some 42 days in hospital. She underwent a stem cell therapy, albeit without result. Shortly after we returned from China, her condition worsened. Her family are by her husband, her children, her mother, her father. All our friends are trying to assist Kiki in her predicament of so many years.
In November 2009, fearing the swine flu epidemic, I made the fatal mistake to follow the doctor's advice to undergo tracheotomy, although I was not at that time aware of the tremendous consequences of such operation, whether medically nor financially. If at least they had made me aware of what I was to go through, medically speaking, I am sure I would never have gone through with this experience. I would just as well have preferred to let myself die. The dire experience of suction is a daily torture I have to withstand 30 times a day on a 24-hour basis. There are no nurses available in the area with sufficient knowledge and skills for intensive care needing patients.
Ever since, there is no way to grasp the ordeal of her family. Beyond the financial and psychological burden, there is a desperate need to come up with the people capable of helping Kiki to sustain herself biologically. There is a lack, a tragic lack of response on the part of the state services.
Add to that the lack of funds for reimbursement of the expenses from the Hellenic State Healthcare Fund, and you will have a slight idea of how much more difficult life becomes every day. There has been no compensation for the expenses incurred. In the meantime, I became a regular client with the Citizens Ombudsman Services in Greece. I have recently been summoned by the Hellenic State Treasury Service to stand before the Hellenic Army Health Assessment Committee in the city of Athens to defend my request for the granting of an invalidity pension.
As you may understand, in these difficult times for all, those families with members facing serious health problems have an ever greater difficulty in dealing with this overall negative socio-economic context. People are ailing, and so is the state. I do sympathize with the state's need to cut down expense. I do understand that under the circumstances, The social services need to make sure that invalidity financial aids are only granted where really needed to prevent fraud and abuse. Still, in Kiki's case, what more proof would anyone need? Eyes can see what she and all of us are going through. This is an improbable situation, the tragedy of which only herself and her family could ever fully grasp. What makes things worse is the penury of specialized nurses and intensive care specialists capable of assisting Kiki in her condition. There is no telling how difficult it is to come up with compatriots capable of being to the level of the task. Some simply cannot stand the physical and emotional strain, others just cannot do the job, and there are always those who simply do not want to get near something so difficult. Now, do not get me wrong, I do sympathize with them. I know that helping out with suction is far from easy. Still, don't we all have a moral obligation to support and assist a fellow human being in need? This is Kiki, our sister-in-law, a brave woman under tremendous strain. This is a family going through an unbelievably difficult moment. No matter how strong the willpower to go ahead, support is always needed, desperately. The point I am trying to make is that in cases like those of Kiki's, the state should have a reflex to react swiftly. The state should prove itself to be to the level of its obligations towards its citizens, so that it, as a minimum, compensate for healthcare expense.
How am I to survive under such circumstances? Euthanasia is illegal in Greece, so I may neither live a decent life nor die a dignified death. Society, time 0. Kiki Tsakiri, Archipoli, Rhodes, Greece.